So we have a question from a client who is asking if we have a transition. A transition strip would be like a piece of aluminum that would allow you to go from two different floor type or floor surfaces, or two different floor heights as well. An offset saddle threshold will allow you to transition from a floor disparity in a floor level of a half of an inch, 3/4 inch, things of that nature. And this client does indeed have the requirement of an offset, sort of saddle to transition between two uneven floor surfaces. The problem is we have a different amount at either end. And what that is on one side is about 1 5/16 down to about 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so there is no transition strip that's going to handle that. Transition strips go from carpet to tile. Two different surfaces. You might have concrete floors, but there's a gap between that needs to get filled. It might be precast, several dozens of stories tall, transitioning from one floor surface to the other. The problem is the sill is not level. That's what the entire problem is. So we have our initial question from the client: do we have a transition that will tolerate this unlevel floor condition? And then some supporting images. So let's look at those photographs and continue on with proposing a solution. Okay, so what we have here is the 5 photographs that our client has supplied us, and let's go over what those 5 photographs look like now. So the first photograph is going to be probably just a view of the client showing us how deep the frame is, and the client mentions they could use a transition up to 7-inch wide. And I would probably be more tempted to say that you'll want something that would be, maybe 5 3/4, something in that range, because that will get you basically from here down to about here. Okay. Now photo 2 is showing us the width of the opening, so not too tremendously important, other than it's showing it's probably 3 foot wide, would be my guess. It's probably a yardstick. And photo 3 is showing us, and it's the most telltale of all of the images, showing us what that's going to look like. And I think that we're about 1 5/16 over here down to maybe about 5/8 here. Let's take a look at photo 4. Photo 4 is showing us the short end, which I think is to be about 3/4 inch. And then photo 5 shows us we're about 1 inch and maybe 5/16 on the wide side. Okay. Now let's switch to the our drawing. Okay, so I've pulled up a simple drawing program to bring this video to the drawing perspective. I'd like to illustrate for you what my solution would be. So we know we've got an uneven or a sill that's not level, and here's what I would consider doing. If I were to basically say, you're going to cut a block of wood. Okay, let's say that your block of wood is 2 inch thick, or maybe 1.5 inch. Let's say that it's whatever the width of the threshold that you would like, say 6.5 inch wide, and then the length. Let's just say that you're going to take a 40-inch piece of wood. Okay, this is what that looks like in a cross-section type view. Okay, just a cross-section view. That's all we're looking at here. Kind of what we're meant to kind of indicate of what a piece of wood looks like. Okay. Now imagine that you take this block of wood. Sorry. So imagine that you take this block of wood and you rotate it. Literally, turn it on its end is what I'd like for you to do. In your mind's eye, turn that block of wood on its end. Okay? Let's take that and put it over here. Now imagine another piece of wood, or MDF, or 1x poplar, We're going to call it our mounting board. This is your finished piece of work here. I've just taken that board and put it on its end. Let's imagine a mounting board that's going to be whatever width you want. Let's say it's 12-inch wide. Let's say it's 4 foot long. Let's say that it's 1 by material, so 3/4 thick. In your mind's eye now, imagine taking this 40-inch length of wood and imagine placing it on top of your unit. This is a plan view that we're looking at. In cross section, we would be kind of looking like this, cross section. Okay? It's kind of what we're supposed to look like. Okay. Now, here's where we're going to begin to solve our problem. Let's take this block of wood, this piece of wood. I'm going to zoom in here so that I can exaggerate. Let's rotate that. Whoopsie. Let's rotate that piece of wood like that. So now you can see it's not straight on that piece of wood anymore. The distance from here to here is different from here to here. Now here's the concept. You're going to position the piece of wood, your finished piece of wood, onto the mounting board such that when your tool path, forgive me, let's back up. You're going to use a table saw. The fence of the table saw is going to run across the side, is going to guide the mounting board. The mounting board will touch the fence over here. You're going to position your finished piece such that your tool path, the path of your circular saw blade, is going to look like this. So you get the concept, and you're going to position that so that you are left with your finished thickness or height on the hinge side, if you recall the drawing of whatever it was, 1 5/16 inches, down to the 5/8 or 3/4, whatever it was over here. You're going to attach your finished piece of wood down to the mounting board with screws. You can just simply take screws and toss those right here. Okay? Alternatively, so now you've got that secured down. You've done that first, obviously. You've got that secured down. Now you're going to measure where you're going to set the fence so that you achieve the right thickness here, and the position of where it's angled on the board is so that you achieve the right position here. Okay, is the bottom line. You're going to run all of that down through your table saw. Now you have a piece of wood that looks like this. Except that from the cross-section view, we can't tell that that goes from 1 5/16 inches down to, that smaller thickness material, which is, you're not going to be able to tell from looking at that perspective that it's somewhat trapezoidal in shape. Okay? So now you've got your piece of wood cut, and you're going to place it in your opening, and it's going to flush itself across that unlevel sill condition. Now, if you would like to kick that up a notch, here are some ideas. You want to kick it up a notch? Use the same here's our board. Use the same concept and run it through your table saw so that you can get a elegant beveled edge like that. Maybe you want to take a router bit and you want to take this area here and and radius it over real nice, rather than it being just a square cut. That would be nice to do, and I would very much recommend it. I might be tempted to make that come back even further. You want to take that up a notch even further? Take that board and now let's make it wider. Let's make it maybe 7-inch wide, or whatever the dimension is. Whoop. Whoop, sorry. But now you're going to you're going to route out on your router table this back end material. That's a poor illustration. So that this area here can lip over that heartwood walnut, I'm calling it, okay? And make that transition, chamfer that over here, so make that look like, chamfer it, just this area here, make it look like that. Okay? So you can get pretty exotic with this. You can make that look really nice. And you'd be making your own. I would countersink some holes here so you can run brass screws through here, make it look really nice. And again, I would be tempted to use Brazilian cherry on that. I don't know what finish that's supposed to be. You know, you could probably get away with a piece of poplar. It's fairly decent. I would go with the densest or hardest wood possible. There are lots of places that you can buy lumber from. Go with something as durable as humanly possible to put there. And I think that would give you a really great way to go about really ramping up the sophistication of your installation. Okay, I don't make a living as a carpenter, but this is somewhat peripheral to the sort of woodworking that I've done in business and in my personal life. So I think you'd be able to be very successful with this. If you're not sure that you want to run screws through the bottom, and it's not going to be a problem because this will be your backside of what you won't see because your floor will come over here. You could also maybe do it from what would be the bottom side of the unit by using a triangular block on this side and screwing down into your board and then to the face, but you're going to mount that from the bottom is what I would do. I would put some flat head screws that I would countersink so that they don't touch the top of my router table, my table saw, and you're going to have a real good time doing this. I think it's very easy, simple, and straightforward. And let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, in conclusion, I think we've put together a good solution for this problem that will be both elegant. I think it will be as transparent as possible, and it really doesn't take a lot of skill or expertise. You do have to come up with a piece of wood. It's going to be handy to have a really nice table saw. I don't mean a Craftsman, you know, that's about 16-inch. I mean a really, really nice one. So if you can get access to that, or maybe contact a woodworking shop, they'll be able to make this material for you. You know, you can use a smaller table saw, but you're going to have to cut some serious wood. I mean, a lot of wood, and you might even have to get quite exotic in terms of how you're going to end up doing that. You know, another way that you might consider doing it as well would be with a vertical bandsaw. You could probably do that because you'll get the height out of the piece that you require a little bit easier. So the practical application of how you solve this problem is something that you'll be able to use your creativity and imagination to determine how you'll solve it, but that's the proof of concept kind of thing. If you have any questions on unusual transition strips, hopefully those that we can just point to a catalog page and point to and say, yep, that's the one you need, or solutions to problems that we can't, feel free to reach out to us. My name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and thank you.